The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the manicured lawns of Westfield Academy, one of the most prestigious private schools in the state. Hundreds of families gathered on the emerald green courtyard, their cameras clicking as graduates in navy blue caps and gowns prepared for the ceremony that would mark the end of their high school journey. Among the sea of students stood Marcus Thompson, his 6-foot frame carrying itself with unusual composure for an 18-year-old. While his classmates chatted nervously or waved at their families, Marcus remained still, his dark eyes scanning the crowd with a quiet intensity that seemed beyond his years. His graduation gown hung perfectly pressed, and beneath his cap, his close-cropped hair caught the sunlight. Marcus Thompson, summa cum laude, recipient of the Presidential Academic Excellence Award, announced Principal Williams from the podium, her voice carrying across the gathered crowd. Polite applause rippled through the audience as Marcus stepped forward to receive his honors. His movements were fluid, controlled, each step deliberate. The other students barely knew him despite sharing 4 years together. He kept to himself, spoke when spoken to, and maintained grades that consistently topped their class rankings. What none of them knew was the discipline that had shaped those quiet years, or the storm that lay beneath his calm exterior. The graduation reception buzzed with excitement as families mingled around elegant tables laden with refreshments. Marcus stood near the refreshment table, quietly sipping punch while his younger sister Maya chatted with friends nearby. The peaceful moment shattered when 3 figures approached with predatory grins. Jake Morrison, son of the city's wealthiest real estate mogul, led the pack. His designer suit probably cost more than most families spent on groceries in a month. Behind him stood Brad Hutchins and Tyler Cross, both from equally privileged backgrounds, their expensive watches glinting in the afternoon light. "Well, look who thinks he belongs here," Jake sneered, his voice loud enough to draw attention from nearby guests. "The charity case who somehow managed to graduate." Marcus set down his cup carefully, his expression remaining neutral. "Jake, this is graduation day. Let's just enjoy the celebration." "Oh, he talks." Brad laughed, stepping closer. "Tell me, Marcus, how does it feel knowing you only got those awards because the school needed to fill their diversity quota?" The conversations around them began to fade as heads turned. Parents and students alike started forming a loose circle, some pulling out phones to record what they sensed was about to unfold. Tyler pushed forward, deliberately bumping Marcus's shoulder. "Maybe we should teach this boy some manners. Show him what happens when people like him forget their place." Marcus's jaw tightened slightly, but his voice remained calm. "I don't want any trouble. Not here, not today." "Too bad," Jake spat, his face twisting with ugly hatred. "Because trouble just found you." The crowd pressed closer, sensing the tension reaching a breaking point. The situation spiraled when Maya, Marcus's 15-year-old sister, approached with concern etched across her face. "Marcus, is everything okay?" Jake's eyes lit up with malicious opportunity. "Oh, look what we have here. Little sister coming to save the day." He reached out and grabbed Maya's arm roughly. "Maybe she needs to learn some lessons too." Maya winced as Jake's grip tightened, and something fundamental shifted in Marcus's demeanor. The careful control he had maintained for years began to crack like ice under pressure. "Let her go. Now." Marcus's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper that made several onlookers step back instinctively. Brad laughed nervously. "What are you going to do about it, scholarship boy?" In that moment, memories flooded Marcus's mind like a dam bursting. He was 8 years old again, standing in the backyard of their modest home as his father, Sergeant Major James Thompson, demonstrated a combat stance. "Son, discipline isn't about hurting people. It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves." Years of training flashed through his consciousness. Mornings that started at 5 a.m. with conditioning runs. Afternoons spent learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and boxing. Evenings studying military strategy and tactical awareness. His father had been one of the Marine Corps' most respected drill instructors, a man who had served 3 tours overseas before dedicating his life to teaching his son the warrior's code. Violence is never the first option, Marcus, his father's voice echoed in his memory. But when someone threatens your family, when hatred tries to break innocent people, then you become the shield that stands between good and evil. Marcus had spent 10 years perfecting techniques that most grown men never mastered. He could disable an opponent in 17 different ways without causing permanent damage. He understood pressure points, leverage, and the psychology of combat. What his classmates saw as a quiet, studious teenager was actually a precisely trained weapon wrapped in careful restraint. Tyler shoved Maya backward, causing her to stumble. Maybe we should show both of them what happens to people who don't know their place. That was the moment Marcus Thompson's restraint finally snapped, and Westfield Academy was about to witness something none of them would ever forget. Marcus moved with lightning speed that defied belief. In one fluid motion, he stepped between Maya and her attackers, his stance shifting into a perfect combat position that his father had drilled into him thousands of times. Tyler swung first, a wild haymaker that telegraphed itself from miles away. Marcus ducked effortlessly, grabbed Tyler's extended arm, and used a textbook judo throw that sent the bully crashing into the refreshment table. Punch bowls exploded, sending crystal shards across the manicured lawn. "What the hell?" Brad shouted, charging forward with both fists raised. Marcus sidestepped like a matador avoiding a bull, then delivered a precise uppercut to Brad's solar plexus that doubled him over instantly. Before Brad could recover, Marcus grabbed his shoulders and drove his knee upward, stopping just short of Brad's face in a display of perfect control that left the bully gasping and helpless on the ground. The crowd erupted in shocked gasps and screams. Parents covered their children's eyes while others fumbled for their phones, desperate to capture the unbelievable scene unfolding before them. Jake, the ringleader, pulled a pocket knife from his jacket. "You think you're tough? Let's see how tough you are now." "Jake, no," someone screamed from the crowd. Marcus's eyes locked onto the blade, his training taking over completely. Time seemed to slow as Jake lunged forward with the weapon. Marcus caught Jake's wrist mid-strike, twisted with surgical precision, and applied a pressure point technique that forced the knife to clatter harmlessly to the ground. With his free hand, Marcus delivered a devastating palm strike to Jake's chest that sent him flying backward into a decorative fountain. Water erupted skyward as Jake hit the surface with a tremendous splash, his expensive suit now soaked and ruined. Tyler, bleeding from his encounter with the refreshment table, tried to attack from behind. Without even turning around, Marcus threw a perfect backward elbow that caught Tyler in the ribs, dropping him like a stone. The entire confrontation had lasted less than 30 seconds. 3 bullies lay defeated while Marcus stood in the center of the chaos, not even breathing hard, his graduation gown somehow still perfectly arranged. Faculty members rushed forward, but they stopped short when they saw the knife on the ground and heard witnesses shouting about what had really happened. Principal Williams arrived breathless, her eyes taking in the scene of destruction. Jake sat dripping in the fountain, Brad clutched his stomach on the ground, and Tyler nursed his ribs while security guards approached cautiously. "What happened here?" she demanded. Dozens of voices erupted simultaneously. Parents and students who had witnessed everything began speaking at once, their accounts painting a clear picture of the racist harassment that had preceded the violence. "They threatened his sister," shouted Mrs. Henderson, a prominent parent. "Called him horrible names. That boy was defending himself. Jake had a knife," Principal Williams called out another witness, pointing to the weapon still lying on the grass. The principal's expression hardened as she surveyed the 3 bullies. "You 3 will be facing criminal charges for assault with a deadly weapon and hate crimes. Your diplomas are revoked pending investigation." Marcus stepped forward, his voice carrying across the silent crowd. "Hatred tries to make us smaller, but we don't have to let it win. Today proved that when we stand up for what's right, justice finds a way." The crowd burst into spontaneous applause. Parents who had never spoken to Marcus before nodded with newfound respect. As sirens wailed in the distance, Marcus walked away from the chaos with Maya and his parents beside him. His father placed a proud hand on his shoulder. "You did good, son. You protected your family and stood up to evil." Marcus smiled, his graduation cap slightly askew but his dignity intact. Justice had been served, and he walked taller knowing he had honored everything his father had taught him about courage, restraint, and doing what was right.